My guest for today, he is related to the guest of the second episode, Razali Saad. Both went on to represent the national team in their respective sports, and they went on to the management level as well. The guest for today, he was the GM of the National Sports Association. In 2010, he joined another National Sports Association as a Deputy Director for Development and Planning. Their calling came to his heart in 2014. He was poached by an international body to be their service manager for Asia, sharing his stories, his experience, and the challenges that he had when serving out as a management in the two National Sports Association as well as the international body after we roll out the intro. Welcome to Lepak with Ant. Let's hear what our guests have to say. Or there are beans to spill. Strap on the seatbelt and let's go for a ride with me. We can learn from our guest's story. So, subscribe to my channel as we can experience life journeys together. For the past episode, I have been interviewing soccer players. Some of my viewers has been asking, you only interview soccer players? I said, no, I'm open to any sports. So for today's episode, I have invited someone from another sports. Let's welcome Rizal Saad. Have a seat. Hi Rizal, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
I know you have a busy day ahead. You're going to have some kind of Zoom meeting in the afternoon, right? With the international body that you're working with.
Correct.
All right, maybe for a start, I'd like to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hi. My name is Rizal Saad. I actually work for World Rugby, which is the international federation for the sport of rugby. I'm the rugby services manager looking after Asia.
Right. Okay. In the beginning of the video, we did mention that you and Razali are related. Maybe you can tell our viewers.
So Razali and myself, we are brothers. We come from a huge family.
For Razali, I mean, everybody knows that he's into soccer and you're into rugby.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. In the kind of atmosphere in the family or environment that you're living in, right? How, when he was playing, all right, as probably in the national team of, was there any kind of influence or impact that he actually has on you?
I think definitely, because my dad used to bring me to watch Razali play for Farrer Park.
Okay, yeah.
And then Safsa and then Geylang at the old Jalan Besar Stadium. So of course, sports has been very, very big in the family, whether directly watching them play or indirectly, just following my brother moving around.
Yeah, but that is how your interest in sport grew from there.
Correct. Yeah, from very young age.
How you get into rugby actually? Yeah.
And then secondary school, I think I was lucky enough to get into Raffles. Try out for the rugby team just to go for training. So so that's how I started in the game. Of course, first year in school wasn't good enough. We just learned. It's a completely new sport, didn't make the team. I didn't have a chance to run on, and then obviously Sec 2 we played in the under C division, and that's where my rugby journey started.
Okay, Rizal, how many years did you actually play for the national team?
So the first year I played for the national team was 1993. I think the last time I played for the Singapore team was in 2001. So about 8 years.
About 8 years. Okay. Yeah. In these 8 years of so-called playing at this high level, right? I mean, in life you always experience the high and you experience the low. Right?
My debut for the national team wasn't that memorable because we lost our matches. But I think the biggest defeat that ever occurred, we played in a World Cup qualifier in Malaysia. I was in my final year of university.
Okay, still studying.
Still studying. Mid-year exam. The tournament was about 2 weeks before my first paper. It was a week-long tournament in KL.
Alright.
And we played a tournament. We were grouped with Thailand, Korea, and Hong Kong. And I remember the coach was a lecturer from PE college.
Okay.
Aussie guy. The last game, our coach had to go back to Singapore because he had to invigilate an exam. So our team manager was looking after us, and at halftime was almost 100 points to nil.
Wow, that is against which team?
Hong Kong.
Oh, okay.
And I still remember because I was playing fullback, which is number 15 in the team, and Alfred, our teammate, said, try to keep it below 100. And I was like looking at my teammate, how would we possibly do that in the next 40 minutes? And we ended up losing the game 164 to 13. Next day, full page, back page on a Sunday.
Wow.
Which is, it's always reserved for football, right? Yeah. So there was a final unit. I suppose that the defeat and the article set in motion changes in Singapore rugby. So and then when I graduated in middle of '95, Singapore Rugby had a revamp. They started hiring full time. They hired a CEO from Australia, and I applied to be one of the first few employees as a development officer for Singapore Rugby.
Okay.
That's where my journey working in a sports association. So it was new. Nobody would probably graduate from university and then work in a sports association.
Okay.
I suppose it's an opportunity to be the first and to work in something that I love. Yeah, and I learned a lot of things. You learn public speaking because all this wasn't trained, right? So we learned how to speak to principals. We learned how to address a zonal meeting, talk about rugby.
You mentioned the low. How about the epic?
Okay, I suppose in my playing career, because when I first played for the national team, we were at such a low level.
Right.
Anything beyond a loss is a high for us. So '95, we played in the SEA Games. We got a bronze medal, but there was only 3 teams. but I still have a SEA Games bronze medal. Nobody can.
Why not?
The following year, we played in a quadrangular involving Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. Unfortunately, we lost the first 2 games when we should have won the first 2 games, but we won our first international match in that tournament in Bangkok in '96. So that set in motion, a period of success for us. Like we talk about, in the drive here, we talk about mentality and the belief right there. That set in motion. The under-23s win and that first win in Malaysia set that motion of thinking that we actually can do it. In '97, '98, obviously I had sort of emulate my brother. We used to go to National Stadium. 60,000. In '97, the rugby team actually played at the National Stadium.
The old National Stadium.
Yeah, against China. China's first international match. So we won that game. I mean, the crowd was about maybe 10,000, but that was a big crowd for rugby, paying crowd. And then the following year, we hosted the Asian Rugby Championship in Singapore, and National Stadium was one of the venues. So again, we won the Division 2. So for me personally, for my teammates, we had the opportunity to play at the National Stadium, which was a huge thing, right? So in 2001, I was promoted to be the general manager of Singapore Rugby. So I could still play or try to get a spot in the national team. But the challenge was, if I was playing, I sort of report to the coach, and then the coach report to me in the office. So it doesn't make any. It could have worked, but I think maybe I was giving myself an excuse. But I think it would be a sort of a conflict where
I understand what you mean. The hierarchy is you are here, and then
correct.
goes back, the look back.
But maybe my only regret was I think it's a regret that I still sort of stopped playing at a very young age. I was only 30 then. Host the Singapore Rugby Sevens. Back then at the old stadium, and we were quite lucky to actually got the hosting rights for 3 years. From 2002, running the Sevens at the stadium. Being GM, we are a very small office. About maybe at its peak, we probably had about 18 staff. in various roles. So everybody was double hatting.
So playing a dual role.
Dual or triple hatting, quadruple hatting, because we just had to do everything on our own. Right? We did have some challenges in Singapore rugby. Unfortunate incident was one of our former staff actually absconded some money.
That was
around 2005. So that was a pretty challenging year or years that came along. And that year as well, I got married that year. I got married. My father passed away, and then I had a kid, and then at the same time I was dealing with this. So that was I think a pretty tough time, not only for me but for the family as well, because we had a young baby. I actually worked in Singapore rugby until up to 2010. Yeah. And that around 2010, I would have spent 15 years in the same organization. I was looking for a job, but I didn't really look. That's just the way I am. So I was talking to this guy, and he said, "Hey, do you know any opening in anywhere?" And they say, "Yeah." I look around, and a few days later, he called me, "Hey, there's an opening at FAS. Do you think would you be interested?" So it actually it wasn't even actually on my radar. So I contacted Winston Secgen, and had 2 interviews with him. And he offered me a role in the Football Association. I joined FAS at the start of New Year in 2011.
How was your journey then? I mean, being a high-profile sports association that we have.
I think Football Association was, I would say, interesting. But I mean, football being football,
high-profile sport.
Every single decision or move made by the Football Association, you will have your fair share of criticisms and also congratulations. Scrutiny is obviously being sort of unofficially the biggest NSA, and then the biggest because maybe I don't know whether it's now still the biggest funded NSA.
I would say so.
I think football in a way belongs to the people, whether they like it or not. So the first few days of FA was quite interesting. So I was the deputy director for marketing and competitions. And I was sitting at the competitions office. I think first day or second day, I stepped out of my office and just asked, anybody lunch? And I had zero response. So I walked back into my office, and then one young guy, Shamsul, actually came in. "Boss, down here, the junior staff usually don't go for lunch with management." I said, that's a bit strange coming from rugby, right? Because you are very small, right? What I learned from the FA was physically we were in 2 separate blocks. Maybe that, the technical block was one side, and everything else was on the other side. And some of the exchanges, people were just doing it by emails. So
not much of face-to-face interaction.
I don't know. Maybe, that was my first perception. And I suppose whenever people ask me what I achieve at the FA, I say I make people talk to one another. For me, it's just trying to change that a bit of the culture. Because in 2012, we won the Suzuki Cup again. So it was quite an exciting time in my role, from a marketing perspective.
In 2014.
So somebody wrote to me, I think it was a headhunting firm. So they said, would you be interested in a regional rugby job? The CEO of the headhunting firm flew into Singapore. Just for our first meetup. And then he was talking and asking him, how long was the process? He says he's not sure because they tried looking for this person the year before, not successful. My current department boss and 2 more persons, they were in Singapore. And the interviews were conducted in Singapore. For I think either there was a lot of candidates from Singapore or people flying in from everywhere. So that's how it happened. So I went for 1 interview and I got a job. So
you must be blessed. I would say.
25 years of work.
25 years of work, right?
Almost.
Right? I mean, from
the entry
level to so-called a high-profile local level, and then to the world body. So, what are the things that you actually learn and it will help you able to apply in today's context?
I think you need to respect people's views. You need to listen
Okay.
to what people have to say. I mean, all of us have our own prejudices, right? There needs to be, you need to have a listening ear and see other people's views. So yeah, empathy is very important in this role, because in rugby we have 5 values: discipline, respect, integrity, passion, and solidarity. So that was actually taken from all the members here. Like people were saying what should be the values of the game. So we are very big on values in rugby. And yeah, I think we need to, we try to use these values to educate, and then, as a motto of how we work. Yeah, so empathy is a very, very big thing. What I've learned across the 20 odd years is, I think management level is, I think you need to have a very clear strategic plan. You need to really, really engage your stakeholders. More recently, also because of COVID-19, in discussions with our members, right, it's about prioritization, right? You have a lot of targets, right? And then you have this amount of resources. It could be human resources, it could be funding resources. You need to think, if you have $50, how are you going to spend that $50? Very challenging concept for a lot of the sports association, because on one hand, they need to have national team success, right?
Yes, correct.
But on the other hand, they need to be sustainable. We try to help unions frame their thinking that way. Because, of course, every human nature, you want to have everything.
Yes, exactly.
But unfortunately, you really, really can't. Unless you really have an endless pit of funding and support.
All right, thank you so much, Rizal, for all your stories and sharing of your experience you went through and the challenges that you need to overcome. All right, maybe you would like to have some word of encouragement or something that you would like to
I think
say to our viewers.
There's now more opportunities. Even though we are in COVID, right? There's so many branches of sports management that you can delve into now, right? You got marketing, you got licensing, you got
yes.
And I think the younger generation is pretty lucky. Even though these things were all there maybe back in the 80s, 90s, it was relatively new in Singapore. But I think now in Singapore, I think you just need to set your horizons further.
You have tertiaries nowadays.
Yeah,
or even
you even have degrees in sports. I also have colleagues who are Singaporeans who work at a regional level. So, and, you can be, there's a lot of opportunities now. Yeah, I mean, compared to when I first started. So, yeah.
So, viewers, you have heard what he said. There will be abundance of opportunity in the sports industry. Do go with your heart and think what is the best for you and go for it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye for now for today. Bye. My viewer will ask, where do we get our experience? Our experience is actually shaped from our back experience. As the saying goes, good day give you happiness, bad day give you experiences. This is exactly what Rizal went through as he heard the stories. From a beginner to a high profile sports and eventually to the world bodies. Yes, there's a lot of roller coaster rides for him where he had to go through all the challenges and overcome, learning new stuff, and that is life. Facing obstacles along the way is inevitable, and we need to adapt, improvise, and move on. Then to the next episode, till we meet again. Cheers and bye for now. Stay safe, everyone.